Let's start with a metaphor. If you meet someone and they tell you that they are a sailor, are they telling you they are a sailor because they own a sailboat or because they do the activity of sailing on occasion? Presumably, they wouldn't be sailing at the moment they told you this. But sometime in the past, it's their hobby, they expect to in the future, they do the sailing thing. I feel like for sailing, someone is telling you that they're a sailor because they do the sailing thing, because they undergo the experience of sailing, not because they own the boat. Now, for people who are going to make something creative, for writers or artists or musicians, what is it that they're making? Now, I've thought about my own creative output in both of these ways, but I don't know that I've ever laid these out side by side. So I'm going to put forth two parallel frameworks and compare them a little bit and ask of you guys to share how you feel your creative process goes. Which one of these frameworks best describes what it is you're doing? Are you making a product or are you making an experience? Now, there's some art that seems like it's very much one way and some art that seems like it's very much the other. If you are a dancer, it's pretty hard to argue that you're making a product. It's very easy to see that you would be doing something that gives an experience to yourself, to fellow performers, to the audience. That's, pretty firmly in the experience category. If you're a sculptor, I could see how it would be much easier to think about that final object that you're creating because it is a physical, tangible, real thing. Now, I think a sculptor or a painter, even someone who's making a physical object, you could very easily argue there is an experiential component of that as well. In St. Petersburg, Florida, near here, there is two museums, the Salvador Dali Museum and a Dale Chihuly Glass Museum. A painter, famous painter, and a famous glass artist, and his fellow studio artists who work with him. And the Dale Chihuly one, it's all about these glass pieces, but it's very experiential. When you walk through it, you are in these spaces that are being modified by the glass artwork, by the physical objects. The light is changed by them. The space is changed by them. How you are interacting with that space is changed by these glass pieces. So it's very experiential. Same with Salvador Dali. You might be familiar with some Salvador Dali paintings, but when you see them in real life, they are gripping. They are experiential. They are more than a physical object on the wall. They have a presence that is transcendent to their physical object. So what is it when we are making music? Certainly you could make music and say that it's a product. There's a song that will be sold or an album that will be sold. It has a launch date. You could also say you're making music as an experience. If you're strumming an acoustic guitar at a beachside bar, that's not really a product. That's an experience. You're knocking out some Jimmy Buffett tunes for the tourists to sit around, and that's pretty experiential. What is it for writing? Are you writing a book that's a physical product? Are you writing a script that's a physical product? Is the output of your creativity the product, or is the output of your creativity the experience that the reader or audience of that art will go through? That if you write a book, that your readers experience as they imagine themselves participating in that story as they flip through the pages, that experience is what you're doing. So I've thought about it in both frameworks. I've never really put them side by side until recently. So I'd very much like to hear from you guys what you think in your own creative process. What informs your creative process better? What is the way you think of your creative process? Are you creating a product or are you creating an experience?